Good morning, students, and welcome back to lesson number 3, Glimpses of the Past, part 2. In the first part of the lesson, we saw pictorial glimpses of the history of India from the period 1757 to 1857. And this whole lesson is in the form of a comic book in which you have speech bubbles and you have people speaking certain things. Now, we have seen the first 5 glimpses of the freedom struggle that led to the first war of independence. So, I would like to do a short recap of this lesson. This lesson is written by S.D. Sawant. In the first glimpse, we have seen about uh, Lata Mangeshkar, the famous singer, giving a rendition to the martyrs of our country. These are all the martyrs of our country: Rani Lakshmi Bai, Lokmanya Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, Bhagat Singh, uh, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Gandhiji, and so on. So she is singing a song, a patriotic song. Let your eyes, oh my countrymen, let your eyes fill with tears as you recall the sacrifices of India's martyrs. Then we saw about how the East India Company came as traders and then extended their, they extended their rule over almost all of India. In the third glimpse, we saw what happened during British rule in India, how religious leaders preached ideas like untouchability, child marriage, and so on. But the British continued to oppress the Indians. Then, in the fourth glimpse, we saw about the famous social reformer Raja Ram Mohan Roy, who, uh, tried to reform society in Bengal. He was responsible for doing away with sati and child marriage. He also started the Brahmo Samaj. And then in point number 5, the fifth glimpse, we saw about how the British oppressed the Indians by passing laws such as Regulation Act 3, and they also made a lot of profit, all at the cost of the Indians. Now, let us go begin with the second part of this lesson, and that begins with dissatisfaction. The period 1835 to 1856 marked the beginning of dissatisfaction of Indians. Now, what was the reason for it? Education in India was in Persian and Sanskrit. In 1835, an Englishman by the name of Macaulay suggested a change. We should teach the natives through the English language. I agree. English education produced clerks, of whom the British gave petty jobs under them. Incidentally, it also produced a new generation of intellectuals. Now, these are the Indians talking. We must educate our brothers and try to improve their material conditions. For that, we must convey our grievances to the British Parliament. Then, by the year 1856, the British had conquered the whole of India. Here you can see the states that belonged to the princely rulers and British India. They cared very little about the needs of the Indians. Here are all the commoners talking. Our kings have become puppets and we have lost our old jobs and lands. They are converting our brothers. You only talk, do something to drive them out. So, here, as we can see, children, back then all the education was in the form of Persian, that means Iran. It was called Farsi. In Iran, the language of Iran was Persian. So, all the education in India was either in Persian or in Sanskrit. So, in the year 1835, a British officer by the name of Macaulay suggested that they must translate all this teaching into English so that education was delivered in this new language. And the reason why the British did that was so that they could have a class of Indians who knew English and those who could, do unimportant clerical tasks and administrative duties like answering the phone, typing documents, and so on. But in the process of educating the Indians and having a class of people who could work for them. They also, they manufactured a whole new generation of masterminds who wanted to uplift their brethren, their brothers. They wanted to strengthen their financial prospects that could lead to a very promising future. They also needed to convey this to the British Parliament. The Britishers, on the other hand, cared very less about the Indian people. They cared very little about the needs of the Indian people. By this time, the Indian people had become very worried. The kings were now being treated as puppets. They lost their old jobs and also their lands. The British were forcing some of them to change their religion. And so the Indians were very tired of talking and they wanted to do something. By 1856, the British had acquired almost all parts of India. So, let us go on to have a look at the next glimpse of what caused the first war of independence in India. And that is number 7, the sparks which started flying from the year 1855 to the year 1857. Now, peasants. Taxes continued to ruin the peasants. Now, who are peasants? Peasants are small landholders or agricultural laborers of very low social status. Then, in Bengal, the Santals. Now, who are the Santals? The Santals were a tribal group in eastern India. They had lost their lands under new land rules, and so they became very desperate. In 1855, they rose in rebellion and massacred Europeans and their supporters alike. Now, what is the meaning of the word rebellion? Rebellion means an act of armed resistance to an established government or leader. And the word massacred is they killed in large numbers all the Europeans and their supporters alike. Then, discontent was also brewing in the East India Company's army. Now, here is what they are discussing. The white soldier gets huge pay, mansions to live, and live-in servants, while we get a pittance and very slow promotions. The Angrez asks us to cross the sea, which is against our religion. Who is the Topiwala to abolish our age-old customs? We must drive out the Angrez. Sepoy Mangal Pandey attacked the adjutant of his regiment and was executed. Then, thousands of other sepoys revolted. They were stripped of their uniforms, humiliated, and put in irons. Then we see few Englishmen had cared to understand Indian customs or the people's mind. Here, this is the conversation that they are having. Oh, proud Brahmin soldiers, do you know that the grease on the bullet you have to bite is made from the fat of cows and pigs? What? The white man has deceived us too. And then, soon, chapatis were sent from village to village to tell the people that their emperor would want their services. Similarly, lotus flowers circulated among Indian soldiers. Death to the foreigner. The masses gave all help and shelter to the patriots. So here, as we can see, the meaning of Angrez is Englishman and revolted. Revolted means to take violent action against an established government or officer. Adjutant is a military officer who acts as an administrative assistant to a senior officer. Then pittance. Pittance means a very small or inadequate amount of money. So children, let us listen to the explanation now. The ever-increasing taxes that were levied on the peasants continued to pressurize them and it made their condition worse. The Santals, that is a big tribe or a tribal people, a big tribal group of people, became very disheartened and they lost all hope after they lost their land to the British under the new land rules. In 1855, so they launched a rebellion and they killed many Europeans and all those people who supported them. The people working under the East India Company were also very dissatisfied. That is here. Then the fact that they gave, like, there was a lot of uh, there was a lot of difference between the Indians and the British soldiers. The British got very handsome pays, they got big bungalows to live in, and they had servants to work for them, whereas the Indian soldiers of the same rank got very small salary and slow promotions. Do you know what the salary of the British officers was at that time? It was 150 rupees, and a soldier, Indian soldier of the same rank, got just 7 rupees. So you can see there was a marked difference between the two. Then they felt very bad that the Britishers urged them to move uh, out of their land and cross the sea and work for them. They were motivated to drive the British out of the country. An Indian soldier by the name of Mangal Pandey, serving under European orders, he attacked the adjutant of his regiment, and later on he was killed, he was executed. And thousands of other sepoys, like Mangal Pandey, they took violent action against the British, and they were robbed of their uniform. That means they were asked to give up their uniform, and they were put in chains. And this made them very insulted or humiliated. Some of the Englishmen even began to understand. No, very few English people understood the feelings of the Indians or the customs of the Indians or the Indian mind. They told Brahmin soldiers said, like, some of these people discussed, and they got the news that the Enfield rifle, the bullets were, they were coated with a grease that was made from the fat of cows and pigs. So this is the conversation going on between them, and they realized that the white man had deceived all of them. Next, chapatis were being sent to each home, conveying that their services would be required to fight the English people, and all the people agreed. Later on, even lotus flowers were circulated among Indian soldiers. The whole nation stood against the British with the support of the masses in the form of shelter and other help to the patriots. So, let us go on to the eighth glimpse, which was the actual revolt that took place in 1857. Then there was a violent outbreak, that means almost like an explosion at Meerut. The sepoys, means soldiers, they marched to Delhi, and they shouted slogans, "Long live our Emperor Bahadur Shah." The rebellion spread wider, that means it started in one particular place and then it moved on further. Many landlords had lost their lands because of the British policies, and so they were very sore, they were very angry. This is the discussion going on among them. The white man's rule must end. Yes, we will help you. So, this is the thoughts of the people. Now, the urge, let us have a look at the revolt of 1857. The desire to free the nation of the British continued to grow. The city of Meerut experienced a violent outbreak. The soldiers marched to Delhi to support the Emperor Bahadur Shah, and the revolt continued to spread and grow. They even got the support of the landlords, and because the landlords had lost their land due to new land rules and laws. People were very angry and wanted to fight the British. Now let us have a look at the ninth glimpse, and that is the fight for freedom, which took place in 1857. Many former rulers like Begum Hazrat of Mahal of Lucknow were very bitter. They were very angry. The white man has taken away my kingdom. They joined the upsurge against the foreigner. Then popular leaders like Maulvi Ahmadullah of Faizabad told the people, "Rise, brothers, rise. The Angrez is ruining our land." The people rose everywhere in Bareilly, in Kanpur and Allahabad. Then Azimullah Khan told Tatia Tope, "We should have Peshwa Nana Sahib as our leader in this war of independence." The patriots pounced upon the British and fought pitched battles all over North India. And 80-year-old Kuwar Singh of Bihar received a bullet in his wrist. And here we can see this old man. He was so brave. Mother Ganga, this is my last offering to you. He cuts off his hand and he offers it as an offering to the river Ganges, the river Ganga. So let us listen to the explanation, children. Many former rulers were very bitter, they were very angry because the Englishmen had taken control of their kingdoms. Leaders like Maulvi Ahmadullah of Faridabad, of Faizabad, motivated people to free the country of all the Englishmen. People of Bareilly, Kanpur and Allahabad rose forward too, and earlier rulers like Begum Hazrat Mahal over here, Hazrat Mahal of Lucknow joined them because her kingdom had been snatched by the British and thereby strengthening their power. Entire North India came together in large numbers to fight a pitched battle. Now, what is the meaning of pitched battle? It's a violent confrontation involving large numbers of people. Then, in the light of this situation, Azimullah Khan expressed his thoughts to Tatya Tope that they must call Nana Sahib Peshwa as their leader in this war of independence against the British. So, in this revolt against the British, 80-year-old Kuwar Singh of Jagdishpur, he was the landlord of Jagdishpur, he was hit by a bullet in the wrist, which he dedicated. So, he cut off his hand and dedicated it to Mother Ganga as an offering. So here, children, as we can see, this whole lesson has been taken from the book Our Freedom Movement, written by S.D. Sawant. And what do we learn from this lesson? What are the lessons that we can learn from this period, a 100-year period of Indian history? First of all, we learn that history always repeats itself, and that if we do not learn the lessons that the kings, the rajas, the landlords learnt, then we too will face similar problems in future. We need to learn the lessons that it was the constant infighting and the divisions between all the Indian princes that led to the British came here as traders, but after watching the constant fights among the Indians, they took advantage of the situation and they ruled India. They came originally just as traders, but when they saw this golden bird and they saw the fighting, then they captured our country and ruled over it for a good 200 years, almost 2 centuries. It was 190 years of rule over India, and they managed to continue ruling by employing the policy of divide and rule. So, one lesson that we need to learn, there are many lessons involved in this, but one thing we need to remember is that no matter what our religion, we may be Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jain, Sikh, Buddhist, whatever may be our religion, but all of us are Indians and we must maintain our unity. Our unity lies our strength. If we are united, no other power in the world can defeat us. But if we fight over small matters like communalism, regionalism, linguisticism, all these things, then we will be in for trouble. Just as we had trouble in the past, we could have similar problems in future. So let us learn these of uh, lessons by understanding the history of our country. Now let us have a look at the question answers. Look at this is a comprehension check which you have to read and answer this for yourself. Now, working with the text. Do you think the Indian princes were short-sighted? Yes, in their approach to the events of 1757. Yes, the Indian princes were very short-sighted in their approach to the events of 1757. This means that they only considered immediate benefits, but they ignored the long-term consequences. They were not at peace among themselves, so they took help from the English traders to be able to defeat their rivals. This helped the British East India Company in successfully taking over control from the Indian rulers. They snatched their kingdoms from their hands, and the British adopted the divide and rule policy. How did the East India Company subdue the Indian princes? Well, the British East India Company took advantage of the prevailing tension among the Indian princes of various provinces. Children, do you know that at that time in India there were more than 560 kingdoms? So you can imagine how many, how much of tension and infighting kept on taking place at that time. And so the British helped them in their wars against each other and then finally subdued the Indian princes one by one. They adopted the policy of divide and rule. Then quote the words used by Ram Mohan Roy to say that every religion teaches the same principles. In the words of Raja Ram Mohan Roy, cows are of different colors, but the color of their milk is the same. He used these words to explain that regardless of every teacher having varied opinions, having different opinions, every religion has the same essence and is based on similar principles. Then the next one. In what way did the British officers exploit the Indians? The British officers kept on finding ways and means to exploit the Indians. They levied very heavy taxes upon the farmers and they forced them to give up their lands if they could not pay the tax. They even threatened to imprison them if they did not clear their arrears, that means whatever was due to the British. Not only this, they even passed the Regulation 3 Act, according to which they could imprison any Indian without following a proper trial procedure in court. They removed all import duties on goods being imported from Britain, and by 1829, goods worth rupees 7 crore were being imported to India without import duty. This led to the destruction, to the extinction of small businesses and individual artisans. It caused massive famines leading to death in large numbers. Almost 15 lakh Indians starved to death. They even pressurized Indians to convert to Christianity, and those working under the East India Company were exploited and given inadequate wages. They were hardly promoted. Then, let us name these people. The ruler who fought pitched battles. Do you know the answer, children? The one who, he fought pitched battles against the British and he died fighting. Well, it was none other than Tipu Sultan of Mysore. And the person who wanted to reform society, to bring about social reform, was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. The person who recommended the introduction of English education in India, Lord Macaulay, and two popular leaders who led the revolt. Now, there are several names you could give, any of them. One could be Nana Sahib, then Peshwa, then Kuwar Singh, Azimullah Khan, Maulvi Ahmadullah, any of these, and mention the following. Two examples of social practices which were prevailing at that time, and they were evil social customs. They were untouchability and child marriage, two oppressive policies of the British. First one was no import duty on goods imported from Britain and introduction of the Regulation 3 Act. Then, two ways in which common people suffered first was that there was people suffered untouchability, no, inadequate wages and uh, very slow promotions of those working under the East India Company. Then two ways in which common people suffered. The Brahmin soldiers discovered that they had to, bite off the cartridge which was greased with the fat of cow and pigs. Then, 4 reasons for the discontent that led to the 1857 uh, revolt or the War of Independence. The first was inadequate wages, very slow promotions. Landlords were very angry because they had lost their land under the new land rules. Then the Brahmin soldiers, when they discovered they had to, bite the cover of the cartridge which they were supposed to load into the Enfield rifles, and the rulers who had lost their kingdoms. Then, working with language. In comics, what the characters speak is put in speech bubbles. That is called direct narration. And when we report what the characters speak in our own words, we use the method of indirect narration. Now, here the first man said, we must educate our brothers. The second man says, and try to improve their material conditions. The third man says, for that we must convey our grievances to the British Parliament. So the answer, the first man said that they must educate their brothers. The second man added that they must also try to improve their material conditions. The third man suggested that they must convey their grievances to the British Parliament. Then the next exercise, first soldier said, the white soldier gets huge pay, mansions and servants. Second soldier, we get a pittance and slow promotions. The third soldier, who are the British to abolish our customs? So the first answer is, uh, the first soldier said that the white soldier gets huge pay, mansions and servants. The second soldier remarked that they get a pittance and slow promotions. And then the third soldier asked, who were the British to abolish their customs? Then, this is for you to try and write, play acting the role of farmers who have grievances against the policies of the government. Rewrite their speech bubbles in dialogue form first and then put it there. Now, looking at this picture, there's a story there. There's a fox who falls into a well. Now here he is drowning. He calls out, how do I? He thinks to himself how he can get out of that well. And then look who's here. Hello, is this water sweet? So here, as we can see, there's a goat. He says, oh, too sweet. I've had so much I might faint. And then the goat wants to taste the water. So the fox asks the goat to come inside the well. And then he climbs onto the back of the goat and he gets out of the well. He thanks the goat for the help and he says that you come out when you want. And then the goat realizes that his mother used to say, be careful how you take the advice of people you don't know. That means we are not to trust the advice of people that we don't know. So ask one another questions about the picture. Where was the fox? The fox was in the well. What was he thinking of how he would get out? Then what does she want to know? What did the goat want to know? What happened next? The fox invited the goat to come into the well. And where was the fox then? Inside the well. How did that happen? He must have been thirsty. He must have wanted to drink the water, and so bending over to drink, he must have fallen into the well. Then who was the visitor? It was a female goat. Then what was the fox's reply? Oh yes, that the water is extremely sweet. So you can come and taste it for yourself. Then where is the goat? Outside. And but at the end of it, the goat fell inside, jumped inside the well. And at the end of it, the goat must be thinking that I was very foolish to take the advice of the fox and I didn't even know him. So you can write the story in your own words and give it a suitable title. Think about it and then. Now here we have, read the following news item. History becomes fun in this school. This is a news report. Mumbai. Students in the 6th grade of a certain school in Navi Mumbai love their history lessons thanks to a novel teaching aid. It's not surprising given the fact that their study material includes comic books and they use their textbooks for reference to put things into perspective. That means to put it in the right order. Besides, students are encouraged to tap other sources of information as well. During their history classes, Students pour, that means they study very carefully comic strips of historical periods and they enact, that means they act out as characters of emperors and tyrants, that and have animated discussion, that means very energetic discussions on the subject. History has become fun. In the class, students are asked to read the comic strip aloud, after which they break up into groups of four and they discuss what they have heard and write a summary of that whole part. Each group leader reads his group summary aloud so that the others can hear it, and the whole class jumps into discussion and debate, adding points, disagreeing, and qualifying points of view. A sixth grade student says, "It's a lot of fun because everyone gets a chance to express themselves and the summary takes everyone's ideas into account." According to the school principal, the comic strip format and visuals appeal to students. A historian feels that using comics in schools is a great idea. Comics and acting help students understand what characters in the story are actually thinking. And this is taken from the Times of India, New Delhi, October 2007. So, children, I would like to ask you this question, that if you had the lesson just as a normal the other lesson, would you have enjoyed it as much as you have enjoyed it right now, looking at it as glimpses of a period of 100 years, the whole history? We've seen the most important parts as 9 different glimpses. So based on this news item, write a paragraph of what you think about this new method of teaching history. So write a short paragraph on that. Then find the chapters in your history book that correspond to the episodes and events that are described in this comic, and note how the information, for example, in 1757, the Battle of Plassey was fought. In 1764, the Battle of Buxar was fought. So all these things, note how the information contained in a few chapters has been condensed. That means in short, they have given us a lot to a few pages with the help of pictures and speech bubbles. Now, here's what you can do. Create a comic of your own by using this story. I think it's a story you're well familiar with. Once the sun and the wind began to quarrel, each one saying that he was stronger than the other. At last, they decided to test each other's strength. A man with a cloak around his shoulders was passing by, and the wind boasted, "Using my strength, I can make that man take off the cloak." The sun agreed. The wind blew hard. The man felt so cold that he clasped his cloak round his body as tightly as possible. Now was the turn of the sun, which shone very hot indeed. The man felt so hot that he at once removed the cloak from his body. Seeing the man taking off the cloak, the wind conceded defeat. That means the wind said, "Yes, son, brother sun, you are stronger than I." So here we come to the end of the lesson. Children, I would like you to go through the lesson once again. Think about all the glimpses that were shown there, all the 9 glimpses in part 1 and part 2, and then write the question answers neatly without any spelling mistakes. So thank you and have a nice day.